Hi, today we're in the garage with the 2010 Honda NT700V motorcycle. And we're going to give you some helpful tips and tricks about installing the Hondaline heated grips to this bike. The manual that the heated grips come with is pretty spot on with only three things that I would do differently. The first being, when you open up the installation manual, they're really going to tell you to do some digging. They want you to remove the entire left side of the fairing. That involves the removal of this lower black plastic piece, some inside clip retainers, the side view mirror, the left fairing pocket, the entire surround to the instrument cluster. Then they want you to take off the left vent cover, the left side cover, seat, and disconnect the battery. Ultimately, you're going to remove the left side of the fairing. It's a lot of time, a lot of extra work, and I'll show you what they want you to do all that work for. They really want you to remove all of that just so you can get your hand at that little white connector right there. And let me position my flashlight a little bit better. As you can see, you could easily reach that connector by just simply taking out the left side glove compartment. So in all actuality, the removal of the left glove compartment and the removal of this vent cover right here will pretty much get you everywhere you need to be to install the entire kit with ease. So that's tip number one. Tip number two is that little white connector is basically your power supply for Hondaline accessories. It's a beautiful weatherproof 4-conductor plug, but for some strange reason they sell you this wire harness, this short 1-foot long wire harness that goes from that weatherized 4-pin plug just down 12 inches to this 3-pin unweatherized connector underneath that rubber umbrella that you're looking at straight ahead. That's where your Hondaline accessories plug into. So this thing is just like a conversion jumper. Why they just didn't put that same 4-pin connector, the nice weatherized one, right on the Hondaline heated grip wiring harness and just plug it right in there without this silly 1-foot long thing is beyond me, but that's the way they do things. So one thing I really want to stress about that short wire harness is if you read the description to it in the Hondaline catalog, it will tell you it's necessary to purchase this wonderful $65 piece of cable to operate your Hondaline heated grips and the Hondaline power outlet accessory. That word "and" in their description should be replaced with "or," because there's one connector there and one connector right there for your Hondaline products to plug into. It should read that this cable is necessary for the Hondaline heated grips or the power outlet accessory, because you can't use them both at the same time. There's no provision to plug them both in together. So my advice is scrap the idea of the Hondaline power outlet accessory unit, because I bought them both and I tried it and I had nothing but problems with it. I had the plugs just fall out of it. It has intermittent connections. The power outlet itself is just a nightmare. I would go with a Powerlet or replace it with a Marine Co. or something like that, and just simply run a cable right off the battery and right up to your power outlet, and would probably just be just as well. And I'll cover that in a separate video. So that's tip number two. Other than that, follow the directions to a T. Disconnect the battery so you have some safe working. The grips get changed just like you would a normal pair of grips by removing the old ones, installing the new ones with grip cement. Follow directions there. They're pretty much spot on. Leave yourself a little bit of room for the wire to come off the grips to power the heated grips. Don't forget to make sure you have, and they'll be specific about it, proper amount of slack here, so when you operate your throttle you have a little bit of wiggle room there. The remote attaches nicely and easily right to the clamp for your master cylinder, and we'll discuss the heating, the benefits of the system on another video. The only last tip I would have for anybody is all the harnesses, the pigtails for all this stuff, comes down pretty much even with your ignition switch. The wire harness that plugs into that umbrella down below come up to the triple clamp, And then with bullet connectors, they just plug together. That way if you had to remove any pieces up here, you can and disconnect them from the harness. The only problem with it is all the bullet connectors and everything that kind of merge all around your key switch just sit there in plain sight, and it is kind of ugly. It looks kind of hokey. The Hondaline accessory instructions tell you to just wrap it all up with electrical tape to kind of mask it, and to be honest with you, that didn't look too much better. So what I chose to do was I just used some large shrink tubing, and as you could probably see, hopefully that's in focus enough for you, I just took the bullet connectors and put a good like 6-inch piece of shrink tubing over top of the where they kind of merge and go together, and just shrank it down to size. And I used a loose piece of shrink tubing too, because the bullet connectors are weatherized. The shrink tubing is cosmetic, and I made it loose enough once they shrank that if you had to, you could get underneath it with a little small scissors or something like that and cut the shrink tubing off, just in case you had to disconnect and say remove this thermostat or remove a grip or something like that. So I tried to take a little bit of a non-permanent approach to that, but I wanted something that looked a little smoother and cosmetically nicer. So those are the 3 tips. I don't see where you'd have to remove the entire left side of the motorcycle and the dashboard just to get to that silly white connector. If you like to do a lot of extra work and you want the extra real estate to fumble around, or you got monstrously large hands, go right ahead, knock yourself out. But it's really not necessary if you don't mind reaching in and just being careful with what you're doing. So that's pretty much it. Hope your installation goes well, and we'll see you again.